Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for Leading in a Crisis. This edition of the virtual summit, actionable business and HR strategies for navigating crisis and change. The summit is sponsored by TurnKey Coaching Solutions. And today we have Neil Staker joining us. Hello, Neil.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. Neil's talk today is motive, the key to unifying teams and resolving tough issues. So I'm going to quickly say hello and thank you to our sponsors. I want to say thank you to the Whitmarsh Consulting Group, a group of super talented multi-channel marketing and communication strategy experts. You can reach David and his team at wcg-bp.com. I also want to say thank you to Insperity, HR that makes a difference. Insperity is one of our sponsors. And when I went back to Insperity and asked them, hey, what would you be willing to gift our attendees? They said, how about a free HR financial analysis report and debrief? And the reason I think that's pretty cool is because we know that our HR budgets have gone the way of the dodo birds. Whatever you worked really hard on to develop and put into spreadsheets and make a business case for, we've all had to just crumble up and toss aside because we've got to start again. 2020 and 2021 is going to be a very different business trajectory for most of us. And so if their support will support you in analyzing your HR budget and how to shift and pivot to be more effective with your people management and your plans, don't hesitate to take them up on that offer. As I've said before, they know that not everyone that reaches out to them is going to be a good fit for their service, and they still want to serve by supporting you. So you can learn more about that at turnkeycoachingsolutions.net/HR report. And finally, our last sponsor is our internal team of data-driven crisis strategy strategists. Our team of experts, strategic planning and management consulting experts have put together, they've taken our typical strategic planning process, turned it upside down and inside out, and aligned it with our COVID-19 pandemic economic crisis. And they will walk organizations through how to assess and create some clarity, some predictability, how to redesign, restructure their action plan to focus on the right things at the right time, and how to, not just how, but actually facilitate executive team and management alignment. So not free. Next best thing, though, it's name your own price. And we're doing that just during the pandemic as part of our commitment to serving. So a little bit about my company, TurnKey Coaching Solutions. We are an enterprise learning and development solutions provider. We have expert trainers and consultants and coaches in every major metropolitan area in the U.S. and in key hubs globally. And our specialty is in bringing together leading edge training and coaching and outplacement services and virtual training and culture change initiatives. And what I'm most proud about is this Leading in a Crisis Summit. What we have now is over 50 plus experts every Wednesday and Thursday in April and May and now some of June. And we look forward to hearing your feedback on it. Come back to that landing page often, check out our other talks, and let us know what you want to learn and hear about. So today, we're going to hear from Neil Staker. And Neil is the founder of Collaborant. Neil says that too often training creates hope, but not change. And boy, do I concur on that philosophy. His company's passion is about creating the stickiest training on the planet so that participants remember and apply what they learn. And prior to founding Collaborant, Neil was the president of People Smart Solutions, where he started off as a lone consultant and ended up running a $3 million consulting and training practice with 6 employees. And prior to that, he knew this is what he wanted to do. He graduated from Brigham Young University with a master's degree in the field of study of organizational behavior. So, Neil, thank you for joining us again. Tell us a little bit about you and what we're going to learn today.
Okay, a little bit about me. Here's something you don't know about me. I studied engineering before organizational behavior. So during the pandemic, I decided to build a medieval siege engine called a trebuchet. Some people are familiar with trebuchets, many are not, but it's an old design. They designed it in the Middle Ages, so I decided that it could be improved upon greatly. So I created this trebuchet, and I can throw a baseball a quarter of a mile or a soccer ball over 300 feet. And so I put a video of this on my LinkedIn page.
Right.
It has like 10 times more views than anything else I've ever posted, and has nothing to do with my profession. But apparently people would rather
I
see.
will be going out to watch it.
Yeah, I'm going to put a better link on there. I've got a better video, a slow-mo video. So
That's way cool. Paige said, that's why you're so smart.
So next up, I'm going to start throwing bowling balls. I just need a bigger area where I don't have to worry about destroying things. So anyway.
Good call.
So what are we going to talk about today? Let me switch and share my screen if that's okay. Oops.
Yeah, absolutely. The talk's title today, folks, is Motive, the Key to Unifying Teams and Resolving Tough Issues. And, I'll just say, I don't think we spend enough time talking about our motives, understanding our motives, really assessing what motivates us. So I'm super excited about your topic today.
Well, and part of the reason I picked this topic is you asked a question at the end of our last session, and it was a great question. The last session was on how to talk about tough subjects, how to share tough feedback and deal with disagreements and whatnot. And you asked a question at the end. You said, these techniques are wonderful, they're helpful, but what if the other person doesn't want to listen? What if they're not in the right place? That's a great question. It's actually the one we usually start with. Most people want to start with, what do I say? Because they want to verbalize their frustration, but where they need to start is that earlier question that you started with. So I want to introduce some research that we did. Are you guys all seeing this now where you see the grid there? Yep. So we showed this grid to 100 people, and we said, okay, here's 4 types of coworkers. There's people that have high trust, you trust them a lot, and they have great verbal skills. And there's people that you don't trust at all and that have terrible verbal skills, and you get the other iterations as well. And we said, rank them. Who would you want to work with the most, and who would you want to work with the least, and kind of 1 through 4. To nobody's surprise, and you could guess this, the person that they want to work with the most is high trust, high verbal skills. The thing that surprised us is low trust, low verbal skills was not number 4. Number 4 was actually low trust, high verbal skills. These are people that are eloquent. They know a lot of communication techniques. They've been trained well. They know how to, they've got tools for resolving conflict. They know the right way to share feedback, but you don't trust them. And by far, they were the least desired coworker. It wasn't close. It was a good clip behind the others. We asked people why. My favorite response, somebody said, they said, if I don't trust you, why would I want you to have more weapons than I have? And it's interesting, but how many of you have ever felt like that? Like somebody was using a communication technique or tool as a weapon. And that is exactly what happens. Yeah. I've done it myself. My wife calls me on it all the time. If I start using one of the tools I teach and my heart's not right, she says something like, don't use that crap on me. So if you ever hear somebody say that, if you're using it on someone, it's because your motive isn't right. They don't trust you. So what we find is that not only do verbal skills not help when our motive is bad, they actually make things worse.
Wow.
To make the other person feel more threatened. In fact, the final thing we asked them, we said, give us some words to describe people in each box. You'll notice high trust, high skill, you've got leader, partner, you got great words there. Notice though, when you've got high trust but low verbal skill, you get awkward, harmless, learning, trying, those kind of things. People are cutting you a huge amount of slack. They don't care that your verbal skills are low. They see you as well-intentioned. Low trust, low verbal skills, you get ignorant, rude, belligerent, but it gets worse when you go to that high skill, low trust. Manipulative, hypocritical, evil. Somebody actually put evil in there. And I think we've all been there. We know that person.
Yeah.
And it seems like, how do you fight against somebody who you don't trust, who you don't feel like has your best interest at heart, but they're so dang eloquent and they know just the right way to say things to place the dagger in your back and make it sound like helpful feedback. Most of us hate that person. So what we realized early on is if we teach people all these tools and skills for resolving conflict and motivating others and sharing tough feedback, if their motive isn't in the right place, it's all going to blow up. It's just insincere manipulation, and it doesn't help one bit. In fact, we think it makes it worse. So now the question is, well, what really gets at the heart of trust, and why would somebody trust you when you're giving them feedback or trying to motivate them? I'm going to show a little video here. This is my brother, actually. He and I went to lunch a few years ago, and he was telling me this story, and I said, can I put that story on video? And he said, yeah. I think it will bring this whole idea to life, but I want you to ponder as you watch this, what's at the heart of trust? We're just going to watch about half of this. Here we go.
A while ago, I was working crazy hours at work. I was trying to make a good impression. I was fairly new, and I was putting in 12-hour days. I would come home day after day, and the sink would be filled with dirty dishes. I hate having a sink full of dirty dishes. It drives me nuts. So I would kind of wait and see if anyone else would do anything, and everyone else would go to bed, and I would do the dishes. And this happened for about 2 weeks straight, and it was driving me nuts. My wife never thanked me. I wanted to hear that thank you. I never heard it, and it was really bothering me. Then one day I came home. I had been at work for 15 hours, and the kitchen was a mess. And instead of diving in and doing the dishes, I sat down at the table, and I thought, why is this happening? And I realized that my wife had a lot on her plate too. With me out of the home, she was doing 90-95% of the parenting. So my motive changed, and I really wanted to help my wife and support her. And I got up and I did all the dishes, and I wiped the counters down and cleaned the kitchen. I finished about 12:30. My wife was still up. I really expected that she would lavish me with thanks. She didn't say a word. And so then I started playing the martyr again. Why can't she thank me for doing all this work? What's going on? And I started thinking about the situation. And I realized that for the last 2 weeks, I had been doing the dishes out of an impure motive. My motive hadn't been to help and support my wife. My motive had been more or less to rub my wife's face in the fact that I was doing the dishes. And she knew that.
Okay, so there we have it. Angry cleaning, we like to call that. We love that phrase, angry cleaning. And let me give you a quick definition of angry cleaning and then some examples, then we'll go to a little activity that has another slide. So angry cleaning we define as doing the right thing, the proper thing, the professional thing, but doing it for the wrong reasons. Your motive is insincere or even selfish, self-centered. And we think we do that more at work than we do it at home. Certainly angry cleaning does not only happen with dishes at home. We think it happens a lot at work. Let me give you some examples. Have you ever CC'd someone on an email under the pretense of keeping them in the loop, but your real reason for doing it was to add a little pressure to get something done or to have a little oomph behind your particular view wanting to sway the discussion?
You bet.
That's an example of angry cleaning. If you've ever done a project for someone, kind of taken over and said, let me finish that, or you've got a lot on your plate, let me take care of that for you. The pretense is that I'm helping you because you're busy, but your real motive is I don't trust you to get it done right, or I want to twist the data so that it goes the direction I want it to go, or maybe I'm just sick of waiting for you to do it. Those are all examples of angry cleaning, giving feedback under the guise of being helpful when you really just want to point out mistakes or vent. All of those are examples of angry cleaning, and we think it happens a lot at work, because at home when somebody bothers me, I say, knock it off, you idiot, leave me alone. At work, I don't say that. I say, Anissa, help me understand what you're trying to accomplish here, but it means the same thing. So we're really good at acting proper and professional, but not doing it sincerely. So here's my question for you. So that is our definition of angry cleaning. What's wrong with angry cleaning? I mean, who cares? The dishes get done, right? The project gets done the way it needs to be done. I don't have to wait for you. Yeah, I CC'd your boss, but now I'm getting movement and I'm getting back on track. So I want to hear your thoughts. And he said, if people want to send in their thoughts via chat, you can share some of those as well. But what's wrong with angry cleaning? I mean, we could say like, this isn't about kumbaya and all holding hands and you know, a group hug. This is about results. And if I have to bang some dishes around to get the kitchen clean, who cares whether I'm upset or not?
Yeah. We've got a couple of replies. Karen says it's not solving the core issue, just fueling your anger.
Mm-hmm.
Paige wrote it's setting the stage for a blowout in the future. Gil writes, no satisfaction for either party. Sheila writes, the angry cleaning may get the immediate work done, but it can build resentment and negativity towards your coworkers. That is a step back for everyone. For me, my perspective is it's passive aggressive. I'm not articulating what's really my concern is, nor am I solving the problems. So yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And yet we do this so often. We are so good at angry cleaning or being passive aggressive. And all it does is, yeah, the dishes are clean, but man, our relationships are messed up. The relationships are going south. People don't trust us. So we talk about, if I'm doing some angry cleaning and then I want to give you some feedback and I use the right technique to give you feedback, it doesn't matter. And the core problem goes unaddressed. Somebody caught that. The relationship's being damaged. We're just more likely to blow up later. So this is what we do, and it's what doesn't work. So quick little recap here. Why is motive so important? We have this fun phrase. We call it locomotive. Others resist our locomotive. Loco means crazy. And we think it's crazy to think that other people will respond positively when I use a little technique or a tool that I used if my motive is bad. What is true is that pure motives enable firm action. We probably also know people that we trust implicitly because we know they care about us, their motive is pure, and they can tell us anything they want, any way they want. The people that I trust the most could come up to me and say, like, that presentation you just did was awful. You need to rework the whole thing. Just scrap it. I don't know what you were thinking, but it's screwed up. And I would be all ears. Somebody else that I don't trust their motive could come up to me and say, hey, I have some feedback on how you formatted this one slide. I thought it was kind of confusing, and I'm defensive. It's not about the message, it's about the motive, if that makes sense. And so if we improve our motive, everything gets better. It allows us to motivate, to resolve conflict, to communicate. All those things just fall into place when our motive is right. So I want people now to think about some situations where their motive isn't right. Now, this does not mean that you have to have a bad motive. It's not that I want you to fail or I hate your team. It could just be, I'm so preoccupied with my own project, I really don't care much about yours. And if you've worked with people who are so focused on their own piece of the project or their own function that they really don't care about other people, we don't tend to trust those people as much. It might not be negative, but it certainly isn't positive. So I want you to be thinking about some of those types of dynamics, you and everyone else, so they can benefit from this and apply it. And I'm going to give you 2 big skills that are going to help. You ready for that?
Yes.
Here we go. Big motive skill number 1, assume the best reasons. And to introduce you to this skill, we're going to play a little game called Jump. I want you to think about what first comes into your mind when you see this next slide, okay? And everybody can play this. So I'm going to show you a picture. It's going to blow your mind with what it's going to do, but I'm going to show you a picture, and I want you to just send in the first things that pop into your mind. You can send them in via chat. You can just speak them out loud. Let's see. There we go.
Nope. Burr.
Burr. So I've noticed there's some things looks like popping up on chat. What
Gil says commitment, bad judgment, endurance, dedication, brave, training, poor puppy.
Yeah, the poor puppy. Well, the puppy has a coat on.
Right? Crazy.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what mental illness looks like.
Mental free.
So here's a fun little thing. And we thought rather than just telling you this, we'd let you experience it. as adults, when we see things we don't understand, that we don't quite fully comprehend, a question pops into our mind. Why? And we then jump to a conclusion to make sense out of the question. In fact, did you know the average 5-year-old asks the question why 98 times a day? If you know any 5-year-olds, you're like, that's low. But little kids, 5-year-olds is kind of the apex of that. They ask the question why all the time. The average adult asks why once a day. It's not because we aren't curious anymore. It's because we stop asking and we start jumping to conclusions. We start assuming. So we see this picture right here, and automatically we assume like she's mentally ill, or she's training. She's hardcore training for, or she's got a goal that she wants to reach, or she's on her, we think of all these different things. Same thing happens. Somebody sees their boss, right? And we jump to a conclusion. They're trying to make me look bad. We jump to conclusions all the time. We see somebody in traffic weaving in and out kind of in their lane, and already everybody hearing that has jumped to a conclusion about why they're weaving in and out of their lane. So we thought we would have fun with this. So if you're familiar with the game Family Feud, we surveyed 100 people and we found out the most common answers. So I'm going to give people a chance. I'm going to give people 10 seconds to send in via chat. What do you think are the top reasons why this is happening? What's going on here? Wait just a few seconds for people to send those in. What's going on here? And we'll see if you get matches with what the people that we surveyed said.
And is the question, what's going on here with this picture?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. What do you think is going on here?
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to start reading. Should I read off some of the comments?
Yeah, read some.
Her dog had to go to the bathroom quick.
Let's stop right there.
Yeah.
Bingo. That's the number one answer.
That's great.
You guys are nailing it, right? Yep. Okay. Yep. What else you got?
As a runner, it makes perfect sense that she's training for something, maybe a try. Maybe she likes the cold. And that's consistent. All three of those are the consistent answers.
Okay. The second most common one we got, and it might be there someplace, is she's on her way to the pool. I don't know why you'd take a dog to the pool, but that was a really common response. And our favorite one, and you'd be amazed, this came up a lot. Though suffering from hot flashes, she still likes to work out.
That's great.
That comes up about, because I play this in the live workshop, and that comes up about 20% of the time.
Wow.
Okay. So what do we learn from this first round? We're going to play 3 rounds of this game. The first round that we should be learning is our brains love to jump to conclusions. It's how we're wired. Psychologists have terms for this, fundamental attribution error. We can't turn it off. It's just once you get past childhood, we get very adept at jumping to conclusions. Okay, let's go on to round 2. Your significant other says, hey, I need to talk to you about something. How many of you have already jumped to a conclusion? Same drill. We asked 100 people, what's going on? What do they need to talk to us about? So you can read the answers as they kind of show up. We'll see if we get
What did I do wrong now?
Yeah. What makes you wrong now? I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some variation of that. Okay, what else?
Kelly says, Sheila says, yep, my stomach drops when I hear it. Kelly says, the dishes.
It's the dishes.
Tina says, what's happening now? Sheila wrote, did he lose his job? Karen said, something serious.
Yep.
Sheila also wrote, did he buy another car?
Okay, we'll do it.
Health or financial problem.
It's some kind of health or financial problem. That would be losing a job, buying a car, a lot of those kind of things. And this is our favorite response. It was just one person, but we thought it was really great. Oh no, oh no, oh no, she decided she hates me. So what do we learn from round 2? Not only do we jump to conclusions, but we like to jump to negative conclusions.
Yeah.
Now, our little fun Family Feud game here is not a scientific study, but there are numerous studies that show that humans have a huge negativity bias. And people say, well, yeah, but when somebody says they need to talk to you, it's negative. Actually, research shows most of the time it's benign. Most of the time when somebody needs to talk to you, they're going to ask if you can get dry cleaning on the way home, or they're going to ask what you should get, Billy for his birthday or something like that. The problem is all of those things don't stick in our memory. So 20 times my significant other says, I need to talk, and it's mundane. One time they say, I need to talk, and it's big and it's ugly and it's scary. Which one stays in my psyche? It's the one that's big and scary. Even though research shows most of the time when people say, hey, can we talk about something? It's minuscule. But we like to jump to negative conclusions. Okay, let's go on to round 3. So we do that at home. How about at work? A coworker says, hey, as soon as you're done here, can you come see me in my office? Okay, go ahead and people can text in. What do you think they want to, why do they want to see us? What's going on here?
Very similar to the spouse. Something's wrong. They want to complain about something. What are you unhappy about? He's going to ask me to do something that I already did. Or Paige wrote promotion. Bettina says, dang it. Right? That's a good one.
Positive, right?
Dang it. They want me to do something extra.
Yeah.
They're quitting. Something bad happened.
Yeah. So 60%, what did I do wrong? Yep. Number 2, there's something they want me to do. And if you could read the responses, virtually all of those are negative. It's not like, oh, great, I get to be on this new exciting project. It's, I'm going to get saddled with something, or they're going to want me to fix something. And our favorite, and yes, it's the same respondent. Oh no, oh no, oh no, they're on to me. They realize I'm a fraud. This was an anonymous survey, but we are worried about number 73 there. He's got us a little nervous. So.
And you mentioned that, and yet I think all of us at some point have a fear that we're going to be found out, a fear that I'm not as good as I want them to believe I am, etc.
Yeah. Fear is a big part of this. So what have we learned from this activity? We've learned that when we're at home, when we're at work, that we love to jump to negative conclusions. And a lot of times it's a negative conclusion about what's going to happen, or a negative conclusion about what somebody's motive is, why they're doing what they're doing, that we're kind of wired that way. Yeah. Okay, let's build on this and see what the impact is. Who is this guy? The first person to send them the right answer via chat gets a virtual high five. Who is it? What are you seeing?
It's my husband. Caitlin says Frankenstein. Karen says Frankenstein. Frankenstein monster.
Who said Frankenstein's monster?
That's
the correct answer. Okay, everybody says this is Frankenstein. This is not Frankenstein.
You're right.
Who's Frankenstein? Frankenstein is the creator. Frankenstein is the doctor. This guy has no name. He's just known as Frankenstein's monster. We think this is incredibly significant because in our life, we think we create our own monsters, just like Dr. Frankenstein did. Our monsters don't fly in from outer space or crawl out of the swamp. We create them right here in the laboratory of our mind. And we do it precisely using this process of jumping to ugly conclusions about people. It's going to look something like this. This is how it's alive. So if people can, hopefully that font is big enough for people to read. I'll read it out loud. So I want you to imagine you're in a meeting and someone starts pushing too hard to get his way. They're interrupting you, they're cutting you off, they're shaking their head, they're saying, no, you just don't get it, whatever, and they're doing it in a way that kind of crosses that line of socially acceptable ways of disagreeing and pushing back. Now let's jump into the head of the average person. Given our bias to assuming the worst, why do we think he's behaving badly? If people want to send in their thoughts via chat, when you're sitting there and somebody's stomping all over you, what are some of those negative thoughts that come into our mind about why that person's behaving the way they are? You got any?
So I'll start. The assumptions are, that there's you don't believe in me, or you think you can just walk all over me, or that you're better than me, or that you're the only one here that has any solutions. You're not collaborative. This is
Yes, exactly. So you're a bully. You think I'm stupid. You have to have your own way. But we jump to a lot of negative conclusions about that person in that moment. So how do those thoughts lead us to act? Again, people can send their thoughts in via chat.
Yeah, I want to read real quick what Karen and Joanne said. He's not feeling heard. Paige wrote, I'm bad at my job. Joanne said, could be misunderstanding. Could be someone that just likes to hear themselves talk.
Yes. So, and it's interesting. We'll come back to that. But most of the conclusions we jump to in that situation are negative. That the most likely scenario is that people are going to think, "What a jerk! Has to have his own way. Thinks he's the only guy that's right. Doesn't trust me. He's a bully. Doesn't care. He's not a team player. Likes to hear his own voice." But we're going to jump to negative conclusions, and those thoughts are going to lead us to act in ways that aren't so great.
And that we've got a couple of those. Ignore them. It usually forces a negative reaction. For me, it would probably, depending on it elicit a confrontation.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the thing. We all push back. And some people are like, I don't push back. Some people push back very aggressively and some people push back passively. So I would get aggressive. I would interrupt and say, what do you mean I don't know what I'm talking about? And I would raise my voice and, I would get aggressive back. Some people would just ignore them, but they don't just ignore them. They roll their eyes when they kind of tune out, or maybe there's a little bit of an audible sigh and kind of a like, whatever. But whether we do it actively or aggressively, we all push back. Now, this is where it gets good. Oops, I went the wrong way. He notices that, right? So he's in this meeting and he's pushing his agenda and he notices people rolling their eyes and sighing, and he notices that some people are raising their voice and pushing back and other people are kind of ignoring him. Given his negativity bias, what is he going to think about the group? It'd be nice if he thought, oh, I've pushed too hard and now they're reacting, but that's not what he's going to think. What ugly conclusion is he going to jump to about the group now?
They're incompetent. They don't get it. We're not on the same team. They don't want to solve this problem. They're lazy.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't get it. They're stupid. He's going to jump to negative conclusions about us, which, as we complete the circle, how do those thoughts lead him to act? In exactly the ways that we don't want. We're going to take somebody that's a little bit pushy and we're going to make them a whole lot more pushy. Yeah. We're going to take somebody that's a little bit political and insecure and we're going to make them a whole lot more insecure and political. I'm not saying people are perfect. What I am saying is everyone is flawed to some degree or another and in different ways, and we are very good at bringing out each other's flaws and exacerbating them and making them bigger and worse than they need to be. It's a pretty common scenario, and I think we've all seen it. We've all lived it. We've been a part of it. And then when it's over, we replay it in our minds about how it could have been different. So that's the way things go. And on that happy note, maybe we should end. No.
Oh, you are going to be in so much trouble. I am on pins and needles, excited about your solution.
Let's go get into the solution. It's going to come. It'll be awesome. So let's talk a little bit about Frank's monster. Who should break the cycle? Right now, everybody's thinking, yeah, other people do this with me. They jump to negative conclusions about me. And so we see how other people do this, but we have to be the one to break the cycle. It's not about fair. It's about realistic. It's about results. And the sooner you do it, the better. A lot of times when I do conflict resolution, I get people trying to justify why they're right and the other one's wrong. Right. It's like, good luck with that. That's not going to get you anywhere. It's just like you look at what can you do to get where you want to go. And if you want to get results, you break that cycle. Doesn't matter who started it. I think most of the time it starts with a misunderstanding. Okay, now we have this guy. Making our monsters reasonable. This is going to be where we're going to introduce the solution. I want people to think about monstrously annoying behaviors, things that really bug them, and I want them to send them in via chat. I want you to think of like, what are some of your pet peeves that people do that just really, really bug you? So we've mentioned a couple before, like people that CC leaders, their bosses or your boss or whatever, or people that like drop names, like you're in a discussion and in an attempt to try to win, they say something like, well, the other day when I was talking to Frank, and everybody knows that Frank's the chief technology officer, and you're just reminding them that you and Frank are friends or something like that. But so that would be a monstrously annoying behavior for me, is people that try to borrow others' power or name drop or CC unnecessarily. So what other annoying, monstrously annoying things bug you?
We have rolling eyes.
Okay.
Someone else said cockiness. Someone else says letting out audible sighs of disgust. Someone else says managers who do not listen to their team. And we have people that are not real, and we have ignoring others' opinions.
Okay.
A few more, those that talk over you, people who talk at you but don't listen to your feedback, non-active listening, and laziness.
Okay. Perfect. This is where it gets really good.
Yay.
Remember my last workshop, I said there's a part where everybody would hate me for 30 seconds and they would think I'm brilliant. This is that part. This is that part. Okay. So this is for everybody out there. Have you ever done any of the annoying things we just listed? Even once? Have once in your life, have you talked over somebody? Or once in your life, have you rolled your eyes or sighed? And maybe there's some on there that you're like, yeah, I've actually done that one a lot. I want you to ponder, why did you do them? Why did you do those things? I will share an example. I have totally ignored somebody's opinion and talked over somebody. I've done that probably a lot. When I get really excited about an idea, it's harder for me to listen because I get the idea, it's so exciting in my mind that I just want to verbalize it and articulate it. And I'm the kind of person that I think out loud. It's hard for me to form ideas in my mind. I can form them more easily as I'm talking. So a vague kind of impression will come to me and I get really excited about it and I start verbalizing it, and candidly, I sometimes don't really pay attention to whether I'm cutting somebody else off or if it's kind of stomping on somebody else's opinion, because I'm just kind of obsessed with my own thoughts. It's not like I'm intending to put that person down or to interrupt them. It's just kind of, I lose myself in the moment, as it were. So are other people, I see the chat popping up a bunch. Are other people putting
Yes. So let's see. Sounds like me. I get excited. I was not engaged or frustrated. Yeah, I don't realize I was being cocky. Yes, I have. For something that I made a decision on probably in my mid-20s when I went through a lot of personal development work, was I ran across some training or a book or something, and it said the things that annoy you most about others is the thing that you dislike most about yourself.
Yeah.
And from that, I get less annoyed. I'm not so great at always being the best myself, but I do get less annoyed at others because I look at it as that's my mirror. That's something I've got to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad and one of my sisters would butt heads growing up. And even as a child, I'd look at it and I think it's because they're the same.
Yes.
They would get so annoyed with each other. And I'm like, it's like, you're really just getting annoyed with yourself.
Yes.
A lot of times people say, what qualifies you for this? Is it your master's degree? And I'm like, no, it was growing up in a large dysfunctional family. That's my real training grounds.
Yes, for all of us.
Yeah.
Joanne wrote sneakiness and hidden agenda.
Ooh, yeah. But I think there have been times when I've been sneaky or I've had a hidden agenda because I didn't dare share it out loud because I thought it might blow up in my face, or I needed to talk to this person first before I went verbal or public with what I was doing. So, every rotten, crummy thing that people listed, I've done at some point in my life. But here's the thing. When I do those things, in my mind, there's a good reason for it. Now, you could argue that reason isn't justified or not, and I'm not trying to justify bad behavior. What I am trying to say is that when we do bad things, it's not because we're evil or because we hate people. When we do bad things, it's because of circumstances, or it's because of honest mistakes, or it's because our brain just doesn't think that way. So when other people do bad things, why can't we assume, if we're going to jump to a conclusion, instead of jumping to a negative conclusion about them that says they don't trust me, they think I'm stupid, or they're a bully, why can't we think, well, why would I do something like that? Well, what if that guy was one of my best friends or something and he was doing something like that? Would I assume something different? Sometimes we've had that same experience where we're driving and we think somebody's a real jerk, and then we realize it's somebody that we know and like, and we're like, it just immediately disappears. Like, oh, I'm sure they didn't realize that. Or, we cut them a lot of slack. So the key for us is going to be to think of the best possible reasons. Instead of assuming the worst reasons for others' behaviors, let's assume the best reasons for their behaviors. Let's assume that there's a lot of pressure upon them. Let's assume that their boss gave them confusing directions. Let's assume that maybe their brain doesn't think the way our brain thinks. Or maybe we could even assume that we did something, maybe we asked a question and they assumed that it was trying to undermine them, that my motive was insincere when I was really just trying to understand. So they're being defensive, but it's because I did something that they perceived as threatening. Why not cut them as much slack as we can? Now, we don't do that to be naive. We do it because it changes us and it changes them. Let me give you an example. Fun little story. A guy in one of my workshops named Sean said, I've got to share an example of this. So he said a few years ago, I moved into a brand new neighborhood. And on moving day, I was carrying a big heavy box up the sidewalk, and we hadn't met our neighbor across the street. And this car came by, and the woman in the car reached up and waved. And I couldn't wave back, but I kind of nodded my head and smiled, and they pulled in to the house across the street. And he's like, wow, that's the neighbor we haven't met. And he's like, well, that's a good sign, a friendly wave. And a little while later, he was out working in his yard, pulling some weeds, and she drove by again and up the hand went. He's like, wow, I didn't even think she'd notice me down here in the flower bed. It's like, but she must be looking for me, looking for a chance to kind of connect. And then a few days later, he was actually standing in his front room, looking out the window, and she came by, and sure enough, she waves to him. And he thought, wow, she's actually like looking for me. Like, she doesn't just drive down the street. She's like looking like, okay, I wonder if I could, if Sean's there, I could wave to him. And thought, wow, it's really friendly. And so him and his wife decided to go over and meet this couple because they were so friendly, because they seemed to be so approachable or care so much. So they went over there with big smiles on their faces, and they said, oh, we're so glad to be in the neighborhood. We wanted to meet you guys. Thanks for being so welcoming. And the neighbors responded in kind. They became friends. They went out to dinner, went to movies together, stuff like that. And then as the months went by, Sean started to meet some other people in the neighborhood. And one of them said, can I ask you something, Sean? He says, sure, what is it? He's like, how on earth are you friends with your neighbors? He's like, what do you mean? And he's like, those people are awful. Nobody is friends with them. They don't get along with anybody in the neighborhood. Everybody's scared to death of them. They're like monsters over there. It's like, how on earth did you become friends with them? It's like, nobody else can even have a conversation with them without it ending in an argument. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Are we talking about the same people? And he's like, yeah, the people across the street. And he's like, I've never seen any of that in them. All I ever see in them is just friendship and kindness. And he thought, that's kind of odd, kind of a weird conversation. Didn't know what to think about it. Then he went to see the eye doctor, and it'd been about 5 years since he'd been in. And the eye doctor says, wow, your eyesight has changed a lot. Your vision has really deteriorated. And so he said, you need glasses. He's like, really? I've always had great vision. He's like, no, you do not have great vision. You need glasses. So they got him set up with some glasses. He puts them on. He's like, oh, wow, my vision was bad. So he gets his glasses on, and that Saturday he's mowing the lawn, and here comes his neighbor down the street, and he looks over to wave to her, and he can see in a way that he had never seen before. And as he looks at his neighbor, he sees that as she's driving down the street, she reaches up and pushes her garage door opener. Never looked his way once. And then it hit him. All of these years, she was not waving to him. She was pushing her garage door opener. But his eyesight was so bad, to him it looked like a wave. And then it hit him, and he thought, holy cow, I have a great relationship with this couple because I assumed they were friendly. And because I assumed it, I smiled, and I was kind, and we took cookies over, and they became friendly. And it makes you think, what if somebody would have tainted his assumption earlier and said, that's a mean couple, you got to look out for them. Self-fulfilling prophecies. Now, I'm saying you can make terrible people good. In a sense, yes, I am saying that we have the power to either bring out the best in people or the worst in people, and it has everything to do with the assumptions that we jump to. So,
Agreed.
Bringing out the best. If we can assume the worst, we can assume the best. So imagine we're back in that meeting and somebody's pushing too hard to get their own way. Instead of assuming he's a bully, he doesn't trust me, we could think, this guy's really passionate. He really cares a lot about this project. He's excited about his solution. We could also think maybe he hasn't learned great verbal skills. Maybe he came from an organization where this kind of behavior was more acceptable, where people kind of battled it out and it wasn't as taboo. Maybe he's from New York and now he's in the Midwest or something like that, and there's some social differences. Or, maybe he grew up in a home where arguing is just the way things were. But we think there's some circumstances why he's this way, and it's good that he cares, that he's passionate, that he cares about his job. But if we jump to some positive conclusions, all of a sudden we act a little differently. We think, okay, this guy's passionate about what he does. He doesn't have a whole lot of social skills. I can help him here. So I get a smile on my face and I say, Todd, I can see that you're way into this. You're excited about this. You probably feel like we don't quite get it, right? And he's like, yeah. It's like, I'm going to be all ears. You explain it to me. I want to make sure I get it. And then I'm going to ask great questions. I'm going to say, so you're saying this, and I'm going to paraphrase, and not only going to paraphrase the words, I'm going to throw in some wows and like, you really feel strongly about that. And so you're saying this is going to save a problem later on. It's like, okay. And I'm going to listen to him for 2 or 3 minutes. And I'm going to do it in a way that he knows that I listen to him. And maybe others will kind of join in and kind of get on that bandwagon with me. Now, what conclusion does Todd jump to? He jumps to a positive conclusion. Neil really cares. He listens. He understands. So how is he going to behave? He's going to stop being so pushy, and he's going to stop being so forceful. Now, will that work every time with everyone? No. But it works most of the time with most people, and it makes things better, not worse. A lot of times people will say, well, yeah, but the other person's still a jerk. And my question is, well, yeah, but are you making them a bigger jerk or a smaller jerk? That's your role. And I'm amazed how often it does work, especially if you stick with it over time. If we give people a better person to react to, they bring a better person to the table as well. So that is solution number 1.
Beautiful.
Skill number 2 is quicker because we only have a few minutes left. Share your good motive. You will get absolutely no credit for having a good motive if you don't let people know you have a good motive. This goes back to the little Family Feud game that we played, where we said you go talk to a coworker and say, hey, as soon as you're done here, can you come see me? And most of the people assume that you want to see them for a negative reason. If it's a positive reason, by all means, let them know. Let them know right away. I'm going to show you an example or two of this. Yeah, we've got just a few minutes left.
This piece about sharing your good motive, I think oftentimes we assume that other people know that my intentions are good or that I'm coming from a good place. And that one right there, share your good motive, has changed how I engage with my team and others. When I remember this, it's changed. And just communicating, I believe we want the same things. I believe both of us have high goals here that we both want. And that alone allows the conversation to be easier in resolving solutions.
Yes, it really does. We do a fun activity in the live workshop because sometimes people, they don't realize how powerful this is. And I say, okay, I want you to pick your best friend, somebody that you're really close to, a family member, but somebody that you have a really good relationship with, a peer at work. Pick somebody you have a particularly good relationship with, and then send them the following text. I want you to send them the text that says, hey, when do you have time to talk today? I've got something I need to run by you. And then we get the answers. And I say, then let's see the answers as they come back. And some of the answers are immediately paranoid. Like, did you lose your job? Am I in trouble? What's wrong? But some of them are like, great, I'd love to talk. I'm open after 3. And then when we get those responses, I say, okay, after you get the response, whatever it is, then you're going to reply back and tell them, this was an experiment for a class I'm in. Did the first text make you nervous? What were your underlying thoughts? And then the thing that's most telling is some of the ones that say, great, I'd love to talk. I'm open after 3, reply back and say stuff like, I died inside when I read that text because I was just sure that like you were mad at me for something. And it's like, this is your best friend. And all you said is like, hey, do you have time to talk today? And they were worried. And it's a powerful moment because what people come away with from that is, I had no idea this was as powerful or as pervasive as it is. So if we have a good motive, we should share it a lot. Because we're just thinking like great things, and we don't know that other people are nervous or afraid, but they are. So we're going to watch a couple video clips here. They're going to show examples of this. This first one is very, very subtle. This is Elijah. He's a coworker. And we're going to see first a worse example and then a better example. And then we'll talk, and people can send via chat what they notice about the difference between the first one and the second one. Just what do you think about his motive? And what are those very subtle ways that we know more that his motive is better in the second one than in the first one? Here we go.
You don't understand what I'm saying. We can get this right and still let you guys hit your deadline. I don't want to do anything that would cause us to miss the deadline. I'd also hate to miss a chance to fix the data storage problem. Let's see if we can do both.
Okay, so there it is. So what makes the second one better? Do you have any thoughts, Anissa?
Yeah, we understood his motive just from the first thing he had to say.
Yeah. And a lot of it's very subtle. The first one, you can tell he's seeing you as being the enemy or being separate or being different. You don't understand what I'm trying to say. We can get this right and still let you guys hit your deadline. He doesn't care about my deadline. I don't trust his motive or his intentions, right? But in the second one, he says, I'd hate to do anything that would cause us to miss the deadline. It's our deadline now, right? I feel like he really does care about me. It's very subtle, but it matters. This next one is not going to be subtle. And this one is my favorite because I wimp out when I have tough things to share with people. If anybody else out there listening, if you've ever wimped out and kind of watered down, you had like a tough message you needed to share with somebody, but it was hard enough that it was scary enough for you to share that you watered it down. We're going to see a video with that. We're going to drop in on Yolanda. And first, we're going to see her water down a tough message. And the second time, we're going to see her share her tough message. And the difference, the thing that makes it work is her strong motive that she shares. Let's watch that.
Your numbers are a little low, but you're new here. I'm sure you get the hang of it down the road. You need a little help? Let me know. I want you to succeed here. And I'd rather be candid with you now than to blindside you later. Your numbers aren't up to keeping this job long term. I'm willing to coach you if you're open to it. What do you think?
So I just absolutely love that that video example, because that's my reminder that I don't have to water it down. I don't have to beat around the bush. I can be honest. I can let people know where they stand, but it's the motive. I want you to succeed here. I'm willing to coach you if you're open to it. What do you think? You see it in her eyes. You see it in the tone of her voice. She cares about you. She wants you to be successful, and she has some hard feedback for you. It's honest, but it's also helpful. It's hard, but better to find out now and have somebody that you know cares about you and wants to help you than to find out about it when you're getting let go. So I'd love to have time to talk about that and see some of the chats, but we should probably wrap up.
We have to wrap up, but I do have a quick question. I love Paige's question. And if we don't have time for it today, we can send an email or something. Paige said, where did it go, Paige? Is there a tipping point where we have to consider that it's just malicious and toxic behavior? What do you do then?
Yes, there is. My fear is I'm always too eager to justify my bad behavior by saying it's hopeless or they're just evil or so I always try to give it my best good faith effort first. And I'm amazed. There are times when I think there's no way this is going to work. This person is a psychopath. They're pure evil, and they respond very well. There's other times when I think it's going to work, and it doesn't. So I wouldn't be too quick to assume. I think sometimes we want to assume that because it gets us off the hook for not trying. So I think as long as we try, but yeah, this won't work all the time on everyone, but I've noticed that when it does, even when it doesn't work, I feel good about myself because I know I gave it my best shot to work on motive first before all the other stuff. So.
Fantastic. You're at the perfect spot, which deals with the breakdown of that video that you just shared with us. What did she do? We all know that it was the right way to do it, but what did she do that that we can duplicate?
Yeah. So part of it is you get a good motive first, and you do that by assuming people are doing their best, assuming that there's good reasons for their lack of performance or their bad behavior, some circumstance you don't know about, or some challenge or some misunderstanding. And then once you assume the best, we call it going from furious to curious. If you can get to where you're curious and not furious, and you think like, I don't know why this is happening, but I'm sure there's a good reason for it. Then we can go to that person and we go with a good motive. We're curious, we want to understand, we want to help. And you verbalize that. I want you to succeed here. Or I've seen some things going on in your team and I'm worried about them because I want you to be successful with this team. But you verbalize your good motive. And if it's real, if it's not fake, they'll be able to tell, they'll know. And then you can follow, once you have the good motive, we call it kind of getting the cart before the horse. You got to get things in the right order. Once you share your good motive, then you can share the tough feedback, but you got to get those in the right order.
Great. Excellent. Wow. Fantastic. How can folks get a hold of you? Yes, and tell us you've created a free guide and.
Yeah. So we've got a little simple yet powerful 2-page guide that will walk you through this process of improving your motive and sharing it with other people. And we're just going to give that out for free to anybody who wants to email me. My email's there, and neil@collaborant.com, and just put bringing out the best in the subject line, and I will email you a free copy of that guide.
Beautiful, beautiful. Folks that have joined us, don't hesitate to reach out to Neil. Type in the chat, what are your takeaways from today? What did you find interesting, or what are you going to take away and put into practice? I'm going to read some of those. For me, it's really clarifying something that I try to do already, but putting it into a formula. Don't make assumptions, assume the best. I loved that, moving from furious to curious, verbalizing my motive more often. What is my motive, and how can I verbalize that? And then getting to the tough feedback. I think all too often I move to tough feedback before I've managed the relationship or made it clear that my motive is pure.
Yeah, getting the cart before the horse, right?
Mm-hmm.
First, they need to be able to trust us and know that our motive is pure. Then they can hear the tough feedback.
Excellent. So we've got make good assumptions is my takeaway, to not go in with preconceived notions. Very good. Be the one to break the cycle for the best results. And I'm quick to jump to conclusions. I should leave assumptions out of the way. Nice job.
Yeah. Excellent.
We just had one more. A chance to self-reflect about my actions and what I am receiving from my team, and how to review this and develop. So fantastic, Neil. This has been very informative.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And if people just want to email me with questions, certainly they can email for the guide, but if people want to email me, or we have some other things on our website, we right now, we just want to help people any way that we can. So just reach out and we'll do what we can to help.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I want to show folks, let me show my screen real quick. I want to make sure that you guys have our contact information as well. You can always reach TurnKey at our website, TurnKeyCoachingSolutions.com. For this summit, it's summit@TurnKeyCoachingSolutions.com, or 281-469-4244. So thank you again, Neil. As before, it was awesome.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Stay safe and healthy.
Yes.
Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Thank you.